And without further ado, let's fire up our soldering iron and let's start building up the board. I guess I will probably follow, actually I should be better off following Ryan's instructions, but in any case it is good practice to start by installing the elements which are less tall at the beginning as first, and then progress with taller elements as you go by. It is otherwise difficult to weld anything on the board. Mostly because when something tall is fixed on the board, then how can you make sure that this won't fall off the board as you try and soldering it? So it is best practice to start from anything that is shorter, solder those first, and then progressively move to the tallest elements of the boards. So in this case I will go ahead with the socket, and then Ryan suggests to install this header, and I will try to do that as well, and eventually the screw terminals and the little headers here. The first thing I've done is to fix these 2 points, which are pin number 1 and pin 16, so that once the socket is fixed on these two extreme points, it is quite solid on the board, and you can go on and do the other pins without really too much trouble. In order to keep the board perfectly aligned on the table, I've used these 26 header just to keep the board level, which happens to have the more or less the same height as the socket for the chip, so it keeps it really nicely leveled on the table. And you can do then pin number 1 and pin 16, after which you can remove the header and then go on and do the rest. And just so that there are no doubts about how to put the socket in the right orientation, so that pin number 1, which is the squared one here, there, come on, yes, the squared one there. Then we have to make sure that this indentation here on the socket corresponds to the indentation of the silk up here. So once the indentation corresponds, then we're sure that the pin 1 is in the right place, and the indentation is the same that we'll have to follow when placing the IC directly onto the socket. Once you finish soldering all the pins of the socket, as in here, then Ryan suggests we go ahead with the header installation, which goes like this. So he suggests to install the socket, the header directly onto the Raspberry Pi to keep it level and firm onto the Raspberry Pi. But we could also do something as before by finding a suitable piece of something. I happen to have a blob of blue tack, the always useful blue tack that resolves all the problems on Earth. And if you place it like this, the PCB is going to be quite level with the table, and the header will also be in the right position. So it is a matter of soldering the opposite pin as we did for the socket earlier on, and the rest should come fairly easy as well. And there you have it. That's the header in position on the PCB, and all the pins have been soldered. So next thing, I will go ahead and fix these small headers here. I guess as I've got the blue tack handy, I would probably use that also to keep these ones in place. Just make sure that you place the blue tack just on the plastic of this header, otherwise it will probably make very bad smell, probably not even solder correctly. And there they are. The pin headers are all in place. Blue tack worked fantastically, so much so that in fact I'm going to be using it even to install the two-way terminal screw blocks. Like so. Perfect method. Keeps it in place just enough so that we can solder them. Perfect, all the headers are in place, everything is in place. Last but not least, let's take the IC and put it in the right orientation, like so, and gently push it down into the socket evenly from all the sides. Done. The board should be ready. Let's move on to testing it.